Naginimora. A well-known legend among the Konyak tribes of Nagaland and the Assamese people tells the story of the marriage between an Ahom king and the daughter of a Konyak chief. There once lived a beautiful young princess named Watlong, the daughter of Longmoy Ang, the chief of Tanhai village. Watlong unfortunately lost her father when she was very young. Her mother moved to live with her uncle, who was the Ang, chief of Wangching village. Her uncle took them in and raised Watlong as his own daughter. Meanwhile, in the Ahom kingdom, the ruler Sulikpa, also known as Lora Raja, followed the advice of Laluki Borpukhan and ordered the mutilation of all the members of the Ahom ruling family. This cruel act was meant to prevent them from competing for the throne between 1678 and 1681. Traditionally, an Ahom king was chosen from the royal families, specifically from those with noble blood. There was also a custom that the prince selected for the throne should have no disfigurements on his body. Taking advantage of this, Lora Raja tried to harm the princess by inflicting injuries or scars so that none of them could claim the throne. Godapani, the heir to the throne, fled to the Naga hills. Godapani's wife, Joy Moti, who had sworn by biting her finger that she would never reveal her husband's location, was tortured to death by Lora Raja after a failed interrogation. Godapani travelled through the Naga hills and reached the land of the Ahom tribe and stayed in a village called Bura Namsang in Longland. He lived for 2 years in a cave and utilized a secret path to the Dikhu river for safe passage. During his stay, he formed a close bond with the local people of Bura Namsang. The villagers provided him with protection and all the essentials he needed. Later, he moved to the land of the Konyak tribe, where the villagers spotted him and brought him to Wakching. Wakching village then was divided into 5 clans. These were Palang, Auken, Tupong, Pala, and Angpang. Each clan had separate morungs with an Ang, a chief, attached to it. Out of this, the Angpa, or the great chief, were from the Palang clan. Godapani was first taken to the house of the Auken Ang, a small chief of a morung. As he arrived at Auken morung, a sudden storm with lightning and thunder struck 9 times. The villagers, believing the storm to be a bad omen, felt that they could not shelter him. So they decided to send him to the house of the Ang of Palang Morung. As soon as Godapani reached Palang Morung, the storm stopped abruptly, signaling that he was of royal blood. Godapani was treated like a son of the Palang Ang chief. He accepted the village law of Wakching for protecting him from his enemies. To help him blend in, the villagers from Palang Morung cut his hair and dressed him in traditional Naga attire. They also gave him the local name Bongyong Tikshai. This was all part of his camouflage to keep his identity hidden. The prince began to learn the ways of the Konyak tribe while living among them, and he found a new home in their community. He would often join the men in visiting Wangching Morung to exchange songs and dialogues, which served as both entertainment and a courtship ritual. During these days, young men from their dormitories would meet young women in theirs, and friendships were formed. It was during one such visit to the Wangching that the beauty of Princess Watlong, daughter of an Ang, captivated Godapani, and he fell in love with her. During Godapani's exile, many strange omens appeared in the Ahom kingdom. The cultivation of the paddy and vegetables failed. There was no harvest. Concerned, the people turned to astrologers and prophets for answers. After calculation, they concluded that the realm of the country was under the influence of Konyak clan, and only if the king could be brought back and crowned, the country's misfortune would end. The Ahom people set out in search of their king in Konyak territory. But when they arrived, no one recognized him, and they returned home empty-handed. A second attempt was made, and this time an all-wise man immediately recognized the king by his eyes and face. However, Godapani did not trust the people who had come for him. To avoid recognition, he dressed like the people of Wangching and pretended not to know them. Then a singer from Assam was brought into the Morung and sang a song in Assamese about how everything was falling apart in the plains. Godapani, the only one who understood the language, began to cry as he heard the words. No one else could understand the song, and this is how the Ahom soldiers finally identified him and brought him back to reclaim his kingdom. Godapani could not regain the happiness he once had in the hills. His former wife, Joymoti, had been killed by her tormentors, and he deeply missed his beloved Watlong, whom he had fallen in love with during his time in Wangching. Godapani told his Ahom people that there was a beautiful girl named Watlong Angai, the daughter of the chieftain in the village called Wangching, and he wished to visit her. Following his request, the royal attendants traveled to Konyak village in search of Princess Watlong. However, she was afraid to leave for Assam. To protect her, the villagers told the attendants that Watlong had died. Godapani had seen Watlong in his dreams, so he ordered that all the women from the villages be brought to his palace. As instructed, the women traveled to Shibsagar, but they wore identical clothes to confuse the king. One by one, they were presented before him, and when it was Watlong's turn, he recognized her immediately and simply said, "Hoi," meaning yes. Watlong agreed to marry him, but she requested that she wished to see her parents once. To fulfill her wish, the king made a road from Konyak clan to Assam for the parents of the princess. He also promised her that he would bring his princess to the Naga hills once a year. A grand feast was arranged in honor of Watlong, their beloved daughter, as they bid her a heartfelt farewell. A grand wedding ceremony was held, and the Ahom king invited the Palang Ang chief and the Wangching Ang, the great chief, to the Ahom court to celebrate. The entire city was in a festive mood, with drums beating and groups of people singing and dancing at a place called Bihuber in Shibsagar. The king expressed his gratitude by presenting a buffalo to each villager who had participated. Prince Godapani soon ascended to the throne in 1681. After his coronation, he took the Ahom name Supatpa and the Hindu name Gadar Singha. As promised, the king would accompany his queen and visit Konyak land every year. During one of their visits, before Watlong left for the plains, she asked her sister, Shinglei, and the villagers to remember her during the yearly Aulang festival by throwing the blooming flowers of Erythrina into the river Dikhu. When she sees the floating flowers in Assam, she will remember her village and feel connected to her home. Xinglei obeyed her sister and would throw flowers in Dikhu River during the festival. One day, while traveling, Queen Watlong accompanied King Gadadhar on his return to his home state. Unfortunately, during the journey to the plains, she fell ill and passed away. Her last request to her husband was that after her death, her body should be taken back to the Konyak land for burial. Following her last wish, her body was taken to her homeland and laid to rest at Naginimora, which exists till today as a mark of matrimonial relation between the Konyak Naga and the Ahom. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to discover more enchanting tales and rich traditions from the comfort of your home.